right, everybody. Thank you so much for listening today. I really appreciate it. I took a long hiatus for a variety of reasons, but I'm happy to be back in here doing it again. And thanks for waiting so long to hear some new shows. We're going to be talking today with a guest I had on a couple of years ago. His name is Jeff Owens. He's an educator, and he's also the Eastern Regional Sales Manager for a great company called Dynamic AST Enzymes, or Dynamic Enzymes. AST is the umbrella company. And we're going to be discussing, guess what, enzymes, right? But it's not just for digestion anymore. It's just does so many things in the body for repair, for circulation, for your immune system. And they have a wide line of products we're going to be discussing. So hang in there, chew your food, and here's Jeff Owens. All right, as promised, we got Jeff Owen on. Jeff, thank you so much for joining us today. Appreciate it, my friend. We're back in the saddle here and ready to go. And we're going to be talking enzymes. And, folks, this is not like your grandfather's enzymes anymore. It does so much more than people think of enzymes, Jeff. They think of digestion, but we're going to go into some greater depth into what enzymes can do. And I appreciate you being on. Folks, we had Jeff on maybe a couple of years ago. So it's good to have him back. And we're going to let's start off right from the start here. We're going to be talking about medications and can your body get acclimated to using enzymes too much? When to take them, before, during, after. I always get those questions. And can you swallow it? Can you pour it on food? We'll get into all of that. So it's going to be a great show. I'm a fan of enzymes. I take them myself for digestion, some other reasons. So I think people are a little sketchy about it, Jeff. Let's start off. What are enzymes? Because it's more than what people are thinking. So give us your explanation of how can we describe what an enzyme is.
Jim, first of all, thank you again for having me as your guest.
Sure.
And you're absolutely right. As somebody like yourself who's worked in the natural products industry for like over 3 decades, and I've been, the beneficiary of being exposed to a lot of different supplements, a lot of different trends. I will tell you, Jim, that, now having worked for AST Dynamic Enzymes for 2+ years and being immersed, in the science, if you will, of enzymes, mm-hmm. I don't think there's a category in a health food store, for instance, that is probably more undervalued and underappreciated than enzymes. So absolutely, let me go ahead and explain to your listening audience, first of all, what enzymes are, because, it's a term that people, I think know about in the back of their mind. They know that in their lives, they're using enzymes from a practical commercial perspective, mm-hmm. but within the human body, enzymes play such a critical role. So what enzymes are, they're biologically active proteins, and they're found everywhere in nature. And it turns out that when one substance, such as food, needs to be transformed into another substance, nature, uses enzymes to speed up and control the process. Mm. And then there's a technical term, Jim, that's called catalysis. So enzymes are referred to as catalysts. And enzymes basically are proteins. They're large molecules, but it turns out that only a small part of the molecule is involved in this catalysis, or this catalyzing, breaking a substance down into a smaller unit that the body utilizes. And in enzyme science, this part is called the active site. So it turns out, Jim, that each enzyme in the human body has a specific function to break down a specific substance. Obviously, we're going to be talking about food in this podcast together. Right. The technical term is called the enzyme substrate. And it turns out that with each enzyme, they have what's called an active site. And at this active site, the enzyme and the substrate kind of fit together like a lock, like a key in a lock, if you will. Mm-hmm. And this targeted action makes the enzymes highly efficient, and it makes their results highly predictable. That's one of the things that's just incredible about enzymes. The enzyme itself remains unchanged by the reaction so that it could keep catalyzing, breaking down further reactions. So this is literally, Jim, going on thousands of times every second within every cell in the body. I mean, it really is something that's truly profound.
Mm.
And with enzymes, there are enzymes that are used specifically for digestion. Those are referred to as digestive enzymes. And what we understand about enzymes, particularly the digestive enzymes, is that they have what are called specificity, meaning unlike other proteins in the human body, in the case of digestive enzymes, they have a special trait known as specificity, meaning that each enzyme is going to carry out a specific reaction.
Right.
So as an example, there's an enzyme called lipase, which is produced by your pancreas. And it turns out this enzyme, lipase, breaks down intact fat molecules, but it cannot break down carbohydrates. So in essence, all enzymes have their own particular function. And that's why, when we speak about digestion and digestive enzymes, you always want to have a formula that is going to incorporate all the different food groups that we eat so that, they're breaking down specifically, the enzymes are breaking down specifically those food groups.
Okay.
But there's no question, Jim, enzymes are such a vital, essential part of human nutrition and human metabolism.
Well, back in the day, when I started this journey, I always remember being in health food stores or working in them back in the early 70s and things, and I always remember papaya. That seems to be there was nothing but papaya, I believe, back in those days.
That's right.
Yeah. So, did somebody just think of that, or was there people living on certain islands that were eating papayas that just seemed to be doing really well digestively?
Well, it's so interesting that you should mention papaya, Jim, because the company AST Enzymes was actually the first company to extract the enzyme papain from papaya back in the late 1950s.
Mm.
But I think you're absolutely right. You think about certain foods. You mentioned papaya, pineapple, which contains an enzyme many people have heard of called bromelain,
right?
Which is found in the stem of the pineapples, but actually in other parts of the pineapples. I think probably in terms of human evolution and human adaptation, we figured out kind of the same thing when you think about processes like fermentation and pickling or salting as a way to preserve foods, that certain foods, had characteristics that allowed us to, digest our foods better and to, if you will, potentiate, maximize the utilization of those foods. So you were getting, what you needed to out of them.
Right. Yeah. That's and they were always chewable too. Did that make it quicker to get into the system or something back in the day, or?
I think so. That's a good question. I'm not sure about that. Why, papaya, for instance, was, because you're right. Normally when you see papaya, sold by itself in a health food store, 99 times out of 100, like you said, it's generally in a chewable format. It could be too that when you chew it, the saliva, which itself contains, enzymes such as amylase, may have probably a synergistic, effect with it. But again, I can't be certain of that.
No,
but there could be, there probably is a bioavailability element, to it.
Right.
Obviously, when you're thinking about any enzyme that you're taking supplementally, one of the things you always have to consider from a manufacturing perspective is that when the enzyme, obviously you're chewing on it, through your teeth and your saliva is working on it. Eventually, the enzyme, goes down your esophagus into your stomach. You have your stomach environment, which, of course, when you have food in your stomach typically has a pH of 1.0 to 3.0. So the issue always becomes, with enzymes supplementally, are they able to work, in the broad pH range of your digestive tract,
right?
From the more acidic environment of your stomach to the more alkaline environment of your intestines. So, there could be maybe maybe a scientific or pH reason why, chewable may be advantageous over taking it in a capsule.
Well,
although I would think, even with a capsule, because that you could open them up and pour them onto the contents of the food. That's one of the nice things too you could do with enzymes.
True.
Supplemental enzymes.
Yeah, I remember those papaya things. To me, being in the health food industry and stuff, and not somebody who was eating junk foods per se, but it used to be like a good little mint to take, like after a meal. It's like a little dessert. They always tasted pretty good.
Exactly, and also, it's still recommended. One of the things about papaya or the papain enzyme, and it's an enzyme that we use in all of our proteolytic enzyme formulas, is that papaya. We were just talking about this earlier. Papain is a proteolytic enzyme, meaning it specifically digests proteins. So this is often why papaya has been used as a protocol for heartburn or a sour stomach, or to have people if they're eating a meal where there's a lot of protein in it.
Mm.
And I think also, like you said, when you get it like in a mint format, you get the advantage too of it having a good taste. But that's the thing about enzymes, is that they're powerful. They play a powerful metabolic role in the body, and that's why I always tell people, even when I'm talking to customers in health food stores, and they'll say to me, "Oh, I really don't believe I have any digestive issues," because maybe they don't, they can't see a discernible problem. Well, like that's obvious to them, like maybe having heartburn or gas or distension. But the fact is, the analogy I always like to make is, like, for instance, I'm 62 and a half years old, and my digestive enzyme capacity, for instance, in my pancreas or my stomach, is certainly not the same as it was when I was 22. Mm. So, having enzymes supplementally, to take with food could be such a powerful way to promote not only better digestion and nutrient absorption, but immunity, because enzymes are metabolically efficient, and they really can make a big role systemically and working in all areas of the body.
So enzymes are produced in the body or utilized in the body differently in different parts of the body. Is there different enzymes that are working in your small intestine, in your pancreas, things like that?
That is correct. I mean, most digestive enzymes are actually produced either by the liver or the pancreas. Mm-hmm. In the case of like the pancreas, for instance, produces enzymes such as lipase, which works on fats, enzymes like trypsin and chymotrypsin, or proteases that work on proteins. They're secreted into the small intestine, where food digestion and absorption takes place.
Right.
The liver, of course, produces enzyme factors like bile acids and bile salts, and the liver, of course, plays a major role in digestion. The gallbladder, of course, is the organ that stores bile. And there's a duct that goes from the gallbladder into the small intestine called the biliary duct, which helps the body, break down fats, emulsify fats. Also, bile is known as an alkaline substance that's also very helpful for helping, get rid of metabolic waste that's in the digestive tract. So most enzymes, like I said earlier, your saliva produces enzymes. One is called salivary amylase. Then, of course, your stomach, produces hydrochloric acid, and then in response to food, it produces an enzyme called pepsin. But interesting enough, the pancreas is probably I would say, among the organs that's involved in enzyme secretion, it's the pancreas that is, an organ that plays a major role. And it's interesting because, when people think about the pancreas, they think about it obviously in the context of insulin, which of course, the pancreas does produce insulin through beta cells, but often people may not realize that, your pancreas is a major digestive organ. And, we only have one pancreas, just like we only have one liver. So it's an organ you want to do everything you humanly can, to preserve and protect.
Yeah, that's so true. So when you were saying about the salivary glands, I guess this is the old adage is to drink your food and chew your liquids. You should take a time to really break down food that we as a society probably don't do that. We're always shoveling stuff down our mouths, and we don't take the time to really sit and properly chew our food or masticate our food.
That is so true, Jim. I mean, how often, probably yourself, you're in a car and you see somebody, slobbering down some kind of a hamburger, with one hand on the steering wheel, one hand clutching the sandwich. We've created in a lot of ways a society where we've made eating, quite challenging exercise. Eating, I think, in a lot of ways, when people old enough to remember this, eating used to be more of a meditative exercise. You'd get together as a family, you would eat. It was truly a communal thing. But I think now, unfortunately, it's not. People often eat quickly, eat on the run. Right, they're not chewing and masticating their food, and it's no surprise that we have like a multi-billion-dollar quote unquote acid reflux industry. These are all the results of a society where our eating habits and the foods that we eat are way off course.
Yeah, folks, masticate wherever you can.
That's exactly right.
I think I've done that in the car a few times myself there. So, just
And you know what's interesting, Jim? There's a dentist that I often converse with on LinkedIn.
Right.
He's a really brilliant guy, and he was talking about the fact just about eating and chewing. That, like for instance, when infants, when they don't chew their food properly, or that they're kind of geared away toward not chewing properly, it actually affects their teeth, the gaps in their teeth, their jaw, how their jaw is formed and developed. So chewing is actually a critical thing in terms of your development from as an infant, in terms of your teeth development, your jaw development, and I mean it's no question about it.
I think
like I said, all you have to do sometimes is you're in like a cafeteria or an environment like a restaurant. Often you see the way people eat, you're going, gee whiz,
right.
It's just like literally just throwing that food down their gullet, and you're barely even chewing it. Not a good thing.
Yeah, that's what our ancestors, our far away ancestors, had to eat much rougher food than we. They didn't have the soft foods that we have today, so I guess they developed a much better jaw. What's his name? Weston Price was a dentist, right? So he traveled.
That's right.
Yeah, traveled around the world in the early part of last century and took photographs of islanders and people living in remote areas, and their jaws lines were different. He couldn't find any cavities, first of all. Second, he saw pictures of their mouth structure, and it was completely different than the quote unquote civilized people of the earth. And made those discoveries back in the early part of the century, and said, people stop eating all this processed food because your tooth decay and misalignment is really the food is really affecting it.
There's no question about it. There definitely seems to be a very high correlation, as you said, with the advent of ultra processed foods, the mass industrialization, if you will, of our food supply. I think also, another thing, and I'll just say this as a personal, from my own personal perspective, maybe it's one that's not going to be shared with everybody in your audience, but I do think also, we've scared the public, I think, needlessly in the last few decades about, eating meat, with all this, I think, erroneous information about saturated fat and about meat, quote unquote, causing cancer, heart disease. Yeah. And as a result, people, I think, in many respects, have overcompensated by eating other type of foods, and I don't think it's been a happy result.
Yeah, good point.
But like I said, this is an area I know that's fraught with a lot of controversy. I know myself when I'm having these dialogues sometimes with people, particularly on the other side of the food equation. Yeah, it's hard to find a happy medium about these things.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the thing is, though, when you do eat meat, for instance, you do have to chew. So you are, in a sense, giving your jaw and your teeth a good exercise.
Right. So there's the enzyme. So obviously there's a need for it in our society, because I think the most people who go to, they say the reason that most people go to see a physician is because of digestive issues. And so we're not going to change the world as far as, doing the right thing. So enzymes are just a great way and a safe way to incorporate into someone's diet. So I know Dynamic Enzymes Company, they make a whole plethora of enzymes. We'll talk about a few of them. But I guess the initial one is just a good digestive all-around a product. So you have a few different strengths. Can you explain those to me?
Sure, Jim. As you said, the thing that we increasingly understand, is that there is an inextricable relationship between our digestive capacity and our overall health. The two are absolutely linked. So I always say a good way for a person to start, if they want to supplement, incorporate a digestive enzyme into their daily protocol, is to take a multi-digestive enzyme formula. And in the case of Dynamic Enzymes, we do have two different multi-digestive enzyme formulas. What's common to both of them is that they both contain 5 types of carbohydrate digesting enzymes, 4 types of protein digesting enzymes, 3 types of fiber digesting enzymes, an anti-gas and bloating enzyme component, a fat digesting blend, and even milk sugar and lactose digesting enzymes. So the two formulas Jim, under the Dynamic Enzymes umbrella are Eat Easy, the letters E-Z, and then Eat Easy Ultra, which is our extra strength formula.
Right.
In the case of the Eat Easy, that's a formula I would typically recommend to a customer who maybe, from their vantage point, they don't think that they have chronic, digestive distress. Maybe it's occasional, or they just feel, from their own inner wisdom that they want to take a digestive enzyme formula. This would be an excellent one to consider. It works quite well. Also, just from the standpoint of economy, it's very, very affordable. And, all of our digestive enzyme formulas are designed to be taken, if necessary, with every meal. Often people will ask me, when should I take a digestive enzyme, Jeff? Yep. And I'll tell them, look, if you're an individual that may have compliance issues in terms of remembering to take them, if you will, with every meal, take them with your biggest meal of the day, meaning whatever meal constitutes that which you're eating the most protein, the most fat, would be the best time to take it. And ideally, the best time to take it is just before you eat, before your first forkful or spoonful of food. Now, if you happen to forget and you take it during the meal or after, that's fine. I've done that myself occasionally and forget to take them, but that's the best time to take them. So the Eat Easy works really, really quite well. It's a potent digestive enzyme, and like I said, it supplements the body's natural enzyme production with all the enzymes it needs to break down every type of food we consume. Now, the Eat Easy Ultra Gym, the extra strength, is basically a double-strength version of Eat Easy. So this would be a formula that I would typically recommend to somebody who has chronic digestive distress, meaning that no matter what they eat, they feel indigestion, they feel bloating, they feel gas, they feel fatigue. One of the things that people sometimes experience when they eat is they want to go to sleep after they eat. And what people don't realize is that digestion requires a tremendous amount of metabolic energy. There's like a biological imperative, with the brain and the gut working together to break the food down ultimately into the food components, because that's ultimately how your cells and tissues take it in to cell and tissue repair. So if you're an individual who has a chronic illness, let's say you're dealing with a comorbidity like diabetes or obesity, it's not unusual that after you eat, you're going to feel exhaustion. So the Eat Easy Ultra formula would be an excellent product to consider. It's truly one of the most potent digestive enzyme supplements available. And as mentioned earlier, Jim, it's 2 times more potent than the regular strength Eat Easy. So, I would recommend this formula for those who need the maximum level of digestive assistance.
Yeah. Do we have a certain amount of enzymes in the body? I mean, is there a finite amount? Do we keep producing them? Do we produce less as we get older?
Great point, Jim. In fact, I made that analogy earlier about myself. I always like to say, we're born, if you will, with a bank of enzymes, a bank of hydrochloric acid, and you're able to, if you will, replenish it with certain foods, particularly foods that have microbial activity in them, whereby the body could reproduce enzymes. But the problem we know is that we're living now in a world where people eat so many ultra-processed foods combined with the stress, the chemicals in our environment, that all of these things conspire to greatly diminish our enzyme capacity to the point where, a person, for instance, like their hydrochloric acid levels become so depleted that they always feel heartburn, or reflux, or feeling bloating and gas. So that's why digestive enzymes, is such a, I think, good thing for people to consider. Because no matter what, your health is, your levels of enzyme capacity will diminish with age. Yes, of course. Now, one of the questions people often ask me is, if I take a digestive enzyme, is that going to suppress,
my next question,
my normal digestive secretion, my pancreas? The answer is no. They actually have a synergistic relationship with each other. So taking a supplemental digestive enzyme won't suppress your normal digestive secretions capacity. But there's no question that, as you get older, they do diminish. And again, there's so many things that conspire to, accelerate that, that happening. And, it's no surprise, Jim, when you turn on the TV, probably like one of 3 commercials on TV is either about, indigestion, bloating, gas, constipation, or reflux. I mean, it's just a symptom, of our society that digestive distress is there. The good news is that I think that there is, people are becoming increasingly enlightened about digestion. They understand that digestion is absolutely something that is linked inextricably linked with your overall health and immunity. We know that, critical neurotransmitters are produced by microbes in our gut. That, our gut health, our microbial health is absolutely essential to our physical and emotional health. So, I think that, I think that even if you're a healthy person and your digestive organs are functioning well and you're making enzymes, you could still take a supplemental enzyme and get even, good benefits for your health. Because as I mentioned earlier, what's so remarkable about enzymes is like, unlike, when you take certain vitamins, let's say like vitamin C or B vitamins, where you'll absorb a certain amount and the rest will get washed out. There's just this certain level of absorption and excretion. With enzymes, every bit of it gets utilized in the body. It's really remarkable.
Yeah. Yeah, animals produce a lot. They produce a lot more hydrochloric acid than we do sometimes, and that's why.
Absolutely. I always like to say, look at a lion. How is it possible?
Right.
Let's think about a lion or a wolf. Right. How is it possible, right, that they could eat raw flesh, right? It's because, like you said, they produce tremendous amounts of hydrochloric acid. And that's, like I said, interesting. That's one of the running, I think, controversies, if you will, that go back and forth between the so-called meat-eating community and more vegan community is about hydrochloric acid, the shape of our teeth and molars. But, it does seem to me that, from a human perspective, we've been eating, animal type, protein for hundreds of thousands of years.
Right.
But yeah, certain animals, absolutely, when they eat raw flesh, it's because they have, they produce copious amounts of hydrochloric acid.
Yeah.
How else could they possibly digest, eating pounds of raw flesh?
Yeah, right. So it is important, folks. I'm telling you, you want to get your digestion right. Remember, you can go to hollyhillvitamins.com. That's our sponsor. And, look for it up on our website there. You can, Jeff, what's a good website for people to check out your products, by the way?
For sure, Jim. A great website for anybody who wants to learn more about our company, Dynamic Enzymes, is to go to info at dynamicenzymes.com.
Great.
There you'll see, good information about the company, to kind of give you a biography of the company. One of the things I wanted to mention, Jim, is that with this company, Dynamic Enzymes, this is truly like what I call a vertically integrated company. Meaning that it's a true manufacturer, meaning that they own and manage their entire supply chain, from growing their own plants, the fermentation processes, extraction, the manufacturing, the blending, the formulating, and the distributions. All the way, it's done all through the company to the consumer. So that information, of course, is on the website. And in fact, we also talk about on the website about our testing of our ingredients. All of our ingredients are rigorously tested for safety and efficacy. We have at our facility in Chino, California. Right. You'll be happy to know, our facility for testing all of our ingredients is done in Chino, California. One of the things I did want to mention, Jim, because sometimes this is a little confusing to customers. Okay. The Dynamic Enzymes is like our retail division. It's under an umbrella under the umbrella of specialty enzymes. The thing about this company is that it's in essence an ingredient supplier, meaning they make enzyme raw materials, and they often sell them to legacy manufacturers. Companies that that you'll find
under a different name,
Holly Hill,
sure,
or the health foods, or private label contractors.
Right.
So the retail, the Dynamic Enzymes is kind of like a late arrival in the company's history, but it's something that we're very excited about because we want to be able to offer to the consumer, these finished products, these enzyme formulas.
Yeah, folks. I mean, it would take another hour to really go through everything, but a couple of more key enzyme products that you carry. A lot of people have the gallbladder issues, or they don't have a gallbladder anymore. And I see that you do make a lipase, Easy Lipase Plus. Would that be something advantageous to people who suffer from some gallbladder problems?
Absolutely, Jim. As you probably know, the most common surgery in the United States is gallbladder removal surgery. It's incredible. Over 600,000 Americans have had their gallbladder removed. And as mentioned earlier, the gallbladder is an essential organ. I mean, it's an organ that stores bile that's produced by the liver. So when you have your gallbladder removed, it really makes it difficult to digest fats. And one of the things we understand, Jim, is that improperly digested fats when they remain in the body, oh my goodness, they could wreak havoc in your digestive system, particularly your liver and your pancreas. Mm-hmm. And we know that fats are essential to our diet. You think about all the critical, fats that you get from, omega-3 and 6-9 oils, such as obviously omega-3 fish oils from eating fatty fish or taking fish oil supplements,
right,
or olive oil, monosaturated fats, coconut oil, and then of course micronutrients like vitamin A, vitamin D, vitamin E, coenzyme Q10, just to name a few. So the Eat Easy Lipase is a terrific formula because one of the things about this formula, Jim, just like the Eat Easy and the Eat Easy Ultra, is that it is a multiple digestive enzyme formula, meaning it's going to work on all the food groups. What makes this formula different than those two formulas is that this particular formula has high levels of lipase. That's the enzyme that works on fat specifically. So it's an expertly it's expertly formulated, to support fat digestion, thus enabling the fats to be broken down into essential fatty acids and then absorbed into our body, to use for vital functions. And as I mentioned earlier, there's no question that improperly digested fats, when they remain in the body, they could really wreak havoc on our digestive system. So this would be a terrific formula for those individuals who are, have fat digestive issues, have had their gallbladder removed. Maybe they're dealing with conditions as serious as, a fatty liver, both a fatty liver condition that could be either non-alcohol or alcoholic related. And lastly, many Americans, myself included, or people globally, are increasingly following, a so-called keto diet, a so-called high protein, high fat diet.
Right.
And this would be an excellent formula as well. If the emphasis of your diet is fats and proteins. So just a terrific formula. In fact, it's one that I use. I always like to use all the different digestive enzyme formulas so I could see for myself, how they work and function, so I could share that with the audience. Yeah. But the one I probably use the most of, Jim, because of my diet being more of a keto type diet, is the Eat Easy Lipase Plus.
Okay, that's a great thoughts. I'm a big fan of keto, at least for a time being. It can be really beneficial, so it's good to know. Quickly, I know you're not a doctor. I'm not a doctor. We actually have honest jobs here, and medications. Any opinion on that? People who are taking medications, of course, they should check with their doctor. But do you find a interaction between enzymes and medications?
In the case of digestive enzymes, Jim, it doesn't seem to be the case. That if a person is on, a medication, let's say, they're on hypertensive medication, right, anti-inflammatories, a whole suite of different medications, you could take a digestive enzyme formula. You can take a digestive enzyme formula if someone is on, so-called acid blocking drugs or HCl antagonists. There doesn't seem to be any contraindications or problems. Where that could be the case, Jim, is on the other area of enzyme formulas that we make, which are called systemic enzymes.
Yeah, I wanted to touch on that.
Those are enzymes that, unlike digestive enzymes, are ones you take on an empty stomach, and they work systemically in helping the body manage inflammation, fiber metabolism. And there are instances with those type of enzymes that if people, for instance, are on anticoagulant drugs, or maybe they're taking high amounts of like aspirin-type drugs like acetaminophen or ibuprofen, that there could be potential contraindications, right, or potential hemorrhaging issues.
Good point.
But that's not the case at all with digestive enzymes. So if a person, is on medications, they require them to take medications, they should take digestive enzymes. And, and I'll tell you what, they especially should consider it because, no surprise, when people are on medications, one of the areas of your body that often is adversely impacted is your digestive system. Mm-hmm. And when you think about it, how ultimately can a person get better unless, they're able to, maximize, their nutrient potential? In other words, they could absorb and utilize the nutrients that are so critical for them getting better. I always talk about the fact that when we think about senior citizens, here I am, I live in Florida, which has the, probably the highest, senior citizen population in the United States.
It's a
One
law.
of the great challenges with citizens is this condition called sarcopenia, or
right,
muscle wasting syndrome,
yep,
where you lose muscle tissue. We all lose muscle tissue anyway, but it could also be, if you have poor digestive status, low hydrochloric acid,
right,
low pancreatic function, and you're not able to digest and absorb proteins, that could really, put you at risk, for losing muscle tissue.
That's a great point, Jeff. It's a great point. Older people, definitely need more protein. That's the studies that are coming out are just supporting that tremendously. And right, you want something to be able, as you get older, you can't digest as well. So you want to take something that'll digest your protein. So that's a great point. I'm glad you brought that up.
For sure. You know what, Jim? I will just tell you on a personal level, if it's okay. I mean, I'll share this with the audience. I hope my brother doesn't get upset here. I have a father who's 92 and a half years old, and he went through 3 different cancer operations that were melanoma related.
Right.
One had to do with the sigmoid colon being removed, and as you can imagine, that poses tremendous challenges on your digestive system. I can tell you the digestive enzymes have been a lifesaver for him because this allows him to be able to digest and absorb the foods he eats. And we have him on a diet, that really emphasizes protein because we know how critical that is, especially as we get older. It really is critical at all ages, but especially as we get older. So, yeah, that's what I'm saying. As I mentioned at the very beginning of the show, Jim, digestive enzymes to me are the most undervalued and underappreciated category in health food stores. But I do think that's changing. I do think that the public is increasingly aware. Perhaps this has happened because of COVID in the last 3 years, because people are more focused than ever on their health.
Right,
Maybe they're spending more time at home and they're eating at home, being more mindful and conscious about eating. That this is such a critical thing, and you really could benefit. You really could benefit your health in an economical way with incorporating digestive enzymes in your everyday health.
Hey, folks, if you go to hollyhillvitamins.com, we're going to give an extra 10% off. Code word is going to be GUT. GUT, and it's a good time to check these out. So, and also go to Dynamic Enzymes to get more information on what each one does. We don't have really time, folks, to go into systemic enzymes. Jeff brought that up a little bit, but if you guys work out, if you're a gym rat like me, these systemic enzymes can make a big difference in inflammation in the body, things like that. Again, the research has been around for 60, 70 years on systemic enzymes as well. So they have one, for repairing the body and things. It's just amazing. Things to help the blood make a little thinner too. So, and help with circulation throughout the body. So there's a lot more enzymes than just the digestive ones. And they're the company, folks. They've been around one of the longest companies out there, and again, formulated for other companies. And people know we don't just put anybody on this show. I kind of, as best to my ability, vet companies that seem to me to be honorable and effective. So we appreciate Jeff being on. Before we end, Jeff, I just want to go over the new kid on the block, so to speak, the SBOs, right?
A formula called Biome Ultra, which is a soil-based organism formula. In fact, Jim, I think I may have sent this to you a couple of days ago. There was an NIH study that just came out talking about a staph infection, Staphylococcus aureus, which is this nasty biotic that could lead to infections in the nose, in the ears. Right. And it turns out that that in the Biome Ultra, which is a 3-strain Bacillus probiotic, that the Bacillus subtilis strain was shown to have a great effect in helping fight this particular infection. What I think is so exciting about this formula, Jim, is that in terms of the benefits of Bacillus, is that the spore-forming Bacillus probiotics are exceptionally stable. In other words, they are not only room temperature stable, but they will actually survive your stomach acid environment. Because that's always one of the challenges when you take a probiotic formula, is when they hit the low pH of the stomach, how much of it ultimately will survive. Because it needs to ultimately get into the colon, for the bacteria, the microbes to thrive and then form more healthy bacteria. Right. So what's great about this formula is that it's shelf stable, no refrigeration is needed. It survives to reach the gut, because it survives the low stomach acid environment where it thrives, and it'll help support the growth of beneficial bacteria, promoting microflora balance, and again supporting digestive comfort and immune health as well. And interestingly enough, microbes, of course. This is something you were asking earlier, Jim. Your microbial health is critical because your microbes actually help the body produce enzymes, such as digestive enzymes.
That's true.
So
it's a win-win.
There's absolutely complementary relationship between them. So I love this formula. I think it's funny. I think this formula is sometimes we, as a company, we revere this formula, but it sometimes gets lost, because of the fact that we're an enzyme company. But this is a terrific product.
That's awesome. It's called the Bio. Is it a biome?
Right, it's called Biome Ultra.
Right, for the microbiome.
Ultra.
Yeah, gotcha.
And it's 5 billion colony-forming units per capsule. And they're, like you said, Jim, they're soil-based organisms. They're also sometimes referred to as SBO, probiotics. And it contains these 3 different strains of Bacillus. In fact, just to kind of make a note here, one of the other strains that's in here, Bacillus coagulans, is actually something that we use in a couple of our formulas to help individuals with conditions as serious as IBS or Crohn's. But the Bacillus subtilis, which I also was talking about earlier, that was involved in this study on staph infection. Interesting enough, that bacteria, the spore bacteria, is also involved in the body in making an enzyme that some people may have heard of called nattokinase, which is actually found in fermented natto, discovered in Japan decades ago.
Right.
So, yeah, this is a formula that could really benefit a lot of people. And again, I think when you look at in terms of the science on probiotics, where they're going, I think more and more the attention is being focused on stability as well as efficacy. Like which type of strains of bacteria are such that not only are they innate to the human gut and help the human gut, your colon produce more healthy bacteria, but in terms of their resiliency, their ability to withstand the harsh stomach acid environment and then get into the colon. Gotcha. This formula meets that test. Wow,
sounds fantastic. And folks, you can again go to the website hollyhillvitamins.com. Mention the code GOAT. Goats, I said. Is it good for goats? Gut. I meant gut. Goat guts. And there you go, folks. I guess I need to take some enzymes here. You can go to Dynamic Enzymes. Is it dynamicenzymes.com, Jeff, again?
Yeah, it's actually info at dynamicenzymes.com.
Okay.
And there you'll find great information about the products, the company, and we even have like a Q&A technical support that you can write in, and we're very, very good about getting back to people.
That's awesome. All right, Jeff. Fantastic show. Thank you so much. I learned a lot, as I always do when I listen to you, and you're just doing a great job there. You're helping the world a little, one pill at a time, so to speak. So thank you so much, Jeff.
Thank you, Jim. It's been a pleasure.
All right, guy. Take care. All right, guys. That's it. Please subscribe to the channel so you can get our latest episodes. And if you want to contact me with any questions or comments, try jimwilkcnc@gmail.com. Thanks again.